Woman gives birth to quadruplets, and her husband asks for a divorce the same day. Then she does the unthinkable. Jessica Miller was still feeling the pain of childbirth when she noticed something strange in Brandon's behavior. Her husband avoided looking at the 4 babies she held in her arms, and his hands trembled as he fumbled with a folder of documents. "Jessica, I need to talk to you about something," Brandon said, unable to look her in the eye. "Now?" "Brandon, I just gave birth to our children. Can't it wait?" "Actually, it can't. I brought some papers for you to sign." Jessica's heart raced. Something in his tone wasn't right. The babies slept peacefully in her arms, wrapped in the colorful blankets she had picked out months before. "What papers?" Brandon finally looked up, but what she saw there chilled her to the bone. There was no love, no emotion, no joy. Only a coldness she had never seen before. "They're divorce papers, Jessica. I can't do this. 4 kids at once. It's impossible." His words hit her like a punch. For a moment she thought she'd misheard, that maybe the anesthesia was still fogging her mind. "You're joking, right? Brandon, this is a sick joke. I already hired a lawyer during your pregnancy. When we found out they were quadruplets, I couldn't sleep anymore. How are we supposed to support 4 kids at once? Diapers, milk, medicine, everything multiplied by 4. Tears welled in Jessica's eyes, but a deep anger began to rise inside her. The baby in her left arm stirred slightly, as if sensing the tension. "So you spent 9 months planning to abandon me? While I was sick, while I couldn't sleep because they kicked all night, you were plotting your escape. Jessica, be rational. We both worked, barely making rent. How are we supposed to care for 4 babies? We, Brandon? From what I understand, I'll be doing it alone." The door opened, and Mrs. Fitzgerald, Brandon's mother, walked in carrying a bouquet of yellow flowers. Her smile faded when she sensed the tension. "Son, have you told her yet?" Jessica stared at her mother-in-law in disbelief. So she knew too. Maybe she'd even been part of the decision. "You knew about this?" "Dear, I always said you should have considered selective reduction when you found out there were 4. But no one listened. Now look at this mess." "Selective reduction? You're talking about..." "Choosing only 2 babies to be born, yes, it would have been sensible. But you were stubborn, and now my son will pay for that stubbornness for the rest of his life." Jessica felt the world spin. Not only was her husband abandoning her at her most vulnerable, but her mother-in-law spoke of her children as if they were a problem to be erased. "Get out! Get out right now!" "Jessica, you need to sign the papers," Brandon insisted. "I said get out!" The head nurse, Brenda, appeared at the door after hearing the shouting. A woman in her 50s with graying hair and eyes that had seen much suffering. "What's going on here?" "The patient needs rest." "Nothing serious," Mrs. Fitzgerald said. "We were just handling some family matters." Brenda looked at Jessica, silently crying as she clutched the babies to her chest, then at Brandon, holding the papers with shaky hands. "I think you should come back another day. She just delivered quadruplets. She needs peace." Brandon left the papers on the bedside table and walked out without another word. Mrs. Fitzgerald followed, but before leaving, she gave Jessica a scornful look. "I hope you think carefully before letting pride keep you from accepting help." When they were alone, Brenda approached the bed and checked each baby one by one. "They're fine, don't worry. But you need to calm down, or it could affect your breastfeeding." "Brenda, I don't know what to do. He abandoned me. How am I supposed to take care of 4 babies alone?" The nurse sat on the edge of the bed and held Jessica's hand. "Sweetheart, I've seen a lot in this hospital. Women who lost their husbands, who were abandoned, who had nothing and still managed to raise their children. You're stronger than you think." "But 4 babies, Brenda, how am I going to work? How am I going to pay the bills?" "One thing at a time. For now, you can stay here at the hospital as long as you need. I'll talk to administration." That night, Jessica couldn't sleep. The babies fed at staggered times, and every time she looked at them, she felt a mix of unconditional love and absolute panic. What would happen when she left the hospital? Where would she go with 4 newborns? Around 3 in the morning, Emma, the baby wrapped in the pink blanket, started having trouble breathing. Jessica called Brenda immediately. We'll take her to the nursery for observation. It might just be reflux, but it's better not to take any chances. Jessica spent the rest of the night pacing the hallway between the room and the nursery. Brenda had allowed her to stay nearby, watching through the glass as the medical team checked Emma. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing, Dr. Thompson, the pediatrician in charge, came out of the nursery around 5 in the morning with a reassuring smile. Emma is just fine. It was just reflux, very common in premature babies, but you did the right thing by alerting us. Premature? Yes, Jessica. Multiple births usually come a little early. Your babies were born at 36 weeks, which is considered late preterm. They'll need some extra care in the first few weeks. Jessica felt the weight of responsibility grow even heavier. It wasn't just 4 babies. It was 4 babies who would need special medical attention. On the 3rd day after delivery, as Jessica tried to organize a feeding schedule, a well-dressed woman appeared at the door. Mrs. Jessica Miller, my name is Amy Richardson. I'm a social worker with the hospital. I need to speak with you. Jessica's heart raced. A social worker usually wasn't a good sign. Of course, come in. Amy sat in the chair beside the bed and opened a folder. We received an anonymous report questioning your ability to care for quadruplets alone. The person who filed it claims you lack the financial means and family support to raise 4 children. Jessica felt her blood boil. She didn't need to be a genius to guess who had made that report. It was my mother-in-law, wasn't it? I can't reveal who filed the report, but I need to assess your situation. Do you have a job? Any income? Family who can help? I worked as a secretary at an accounting firm before the pregnancy. My maternity leave will last 6 months, and after that, I don't know yet how I'll manage. And the father. The father handed me divorce papers right here in the hospital the day they were born. Amy wrote everything down with a neutral expression, but Jessica noticed a flicker of indignation in her eyes. I see. And family? Parents? Siblings? My parents died 3 years ago in a car accident. I have a sister who lives in Portland, but she's struggling financially too. Amy closed the folder and looked directly at Jessica. Mrs. Miller, I'll be frank with you. The situation is complicated, but not impossible. I'll give a positive report about your emotional state and your love for the babies. That's evident. But you need to think of a concrete plan for the coming months. After Amy left, Jessica Miller looked down at the 4 babies sleeping peacefully in her arms. Ethan, wrapped in a turquoise blue blanket, smiled in his sleep. Mason, also in a blue blanket, wiggled his tiny fingers. Emma remained in her pink one, and Olivia, the youngest, was snug in an orange blanket. I'll figure something out, she whispered to them. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out. At that moment, she remembered someone, Samantha Brooks, her former boss at the accounting firm. Samantha was a successful woman, owner of a financial consulting company, and had always praised Jessica's work. During her pregnancy, Samantha had said she'd always be welcome to return. With trembling hands, Jessica grabbed her phone and dialed. Samantha, it's Jessica. Jessica Miller, your former assistant. Jessica, how are you? Did you have the baby? Actually, Samantha, I had 4 babies, quadruplets. My God, that's wonderful. And how's Brandon? He must be over the moon. Jessica swallowed hard. Telling the truth would be humiliating, but she had no choice. Samantha, Brandon left me. He handed me divorce papers at the hospital the day they were born. The silence on the other end lasted a few seconds that felt like an eternity. He did what? Jessica, are you joking? I wish I were. Samantha, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do with 4 babies, no money, no help from anyone. Where are you now? Still at Mercy General Hospital. The head nurse let me stay a few extra days, but I can't take advantage of her kindness. Jessica, I'm coming to see you. Stay right there. Don't do anything rash. I'll be there in an hour. When Samantha arrived at the hospital, Jessica could hardly believe she'd actually come. Samantha was a woman in her 50s, always impeccably dressed, who had built her company from scratch after a difficult divorce. My God, Jessica, they're beautiful, Samantha said, looking at the babies. Samantha, I don't know what to do. Brandon emptied our joint account before he left. I don't even have money for an apartment, let alone to care for 4 children. Samantha sat down and stayed quiet for a few minutes, watching the babies sleep. Jessica, can I ask you a personal question? Of course. Have you thought about putting some of them up for adoption? Jessica felt like she'd been punched in the gut. What do you mean? I mean, maybe if you kept 1 or 2, it'd be easier to raise them alone. There are plenty of families looking to adopt newborns. Samantha, they're my children. All 4 of them. I'm not giving any of them away. I understand how you feel, but be practical. How will you work while caring for 4 babies? How will you afford daycare for 4 children? How will you— I don't know, Jessica snapped. I don't know how I'll do it, but I will. They're my children, Samantha. I won't abandon them like their father did. Samantha realized she'd hit a nerve and changed tactics. You're right, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have suggested that. It's just, when my ex-husband left me with my 2 kids 20 years ago, I wondered countless times if I could raise them alone. But I did, and now they're my greatest pride. You were abandoned too. I was. My ex left me for a younger woman when my kids were 3 and 5. Said he wanted to start over without the burden of a family. Jessica felt an instant connection with Samantha. Finally, someone who understood what she was going through. How did you manage? I worked day and night. Sometimes I left the boys with a neighbor so I could clean offices in the early morning. I saved every penny, learned about finances and investments, and little by little built my business. But you had 2 children. I have 4 newborns. That's true, your situation is more complicated. But Jessica, you've always been the most organized and dedicated employee I've ever had. If anyone can make this work, it's you. At that moment, a nurse walked into the room holding a legal summons. Mrs. Miller, this came for you. Jessica opened the envelope with trembling hands. It was a request for full custody of the children filed by Brandon, claiming she lacked the financial and psychological stability to care for the quadruplets. He can't be serious, said Samantha, reading over Jessica's shoulder. He is, and his mother must be behind all of this. Jessica felt a rage she had never experienced before. It wasn't enough that she'd been abandoned. Now Brandon wanted to take her children too. Samantha, I need your help, but not with money. It's something else. Go ahead. I want to turn this story into a documentary. I want to show the entire United States what this man did to me and these children. Samantha seemed surprised by the proposal. A documentary? Jessica, are you sure? Exposing your life like this could have unpredictable consequences. He humiliated me in the worst way possible. He abandoned me at the most vulnerable moment of my life, and now he wants to take my children. I won't stay silent. But Jessica, producing a documentary costs money, equipment, editing, distribution. The profits could go toward helping other women in the same situation. Samantha, you know a lot of influential people. This could become something bigger. Samantha grew thoughtful. On one hand, the idea had potential. On the other, it seemed too risky. What if it backfires? What if it hurts your case in court? What if it works? How many women go through this in silence, ashamed, blaming themselves? I want them to see they're not alone. As they spoke, the door opened, and Dr. Rachel walked in, a young resident who had assisted with Jessica's delivery. Sorry to interrupt. Jessica, I came to check how you're feeling. Dr. Rachel, can I ask you a strange question? Of course. Do you have a phone with a good camera? Rachel seemed confused. I do, why? Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to it. Jessica looked at Samantha, then at Rachel. Because I want to document these first days. I want to show what it's like to be abandoned with 4 newborns. Rachel understood the gravity of the situation the moment Samantha quickly explained what had happened. Jessica, this is awful. Of course I can help film. In fact, I think it should be documented. As a doctor, I see a lot of injustices, but this is one of the worst I've witnessed. You mean it? Absolutely. And listen, I have a friend who works in social media. Maybe she can help spread the word. Samantha took a deep breath. All right, Jessica, I'll help you, But we do this the right way. Nothing amateur. I'll hire a professional film crew. Samantha, I can't afford my treat. Consider it an investment. If this works, it could become something huge. Over the next 2 days, Rachel discreetly filmed Jessica's hospital routine, the late-night feedings, the baby's synchronized cries, the moments of despair when Jessica couldn't calm all four at once. The most powerful footage was captured one morning as Jessica tried bathing the babies alone. Emma was crying inconsolably. Ethan had spit up on his clothes, Mason seemed to have colic, and Olivia needed a diaper change. Jessica was visibly exhausted but refused to give up. She hummed softly to them as she tended to each one. "Look at you, my darlings," she said to the camera, tears in her eyes but smiling. "Your daddy thinks mommy can't take care of you alone, but he's wrong, isn't he? We'll show him that a mother's love moves mountains." Rachel shared the video on her social media on a Thursday night with a caption explaining the situation. In less than 24 hours, the video had been shared over 50,000 times. Most comments were supportive and outraged. Women from across the country shared their own stories of abandonment. Some offered financial help, others wanted to donate clothes and diapers. Samantha arrived at the hospital Friday morning with a stunned expression. "Jessica, have you seen how many people are talking about your video?" "Rachel showed me. I can't believe so many people saw it. It's on TV too. 3 networks have already reached out wanting an interview with you." Jessica felt a chill in her stomach. Things were moving faster than she'd imagined. "TV? I don't know if I'm ready for that." "You don't have to do anything you don't want to. But Jessica, this could be your chance to get the support you need." Just then, Brandon appeared at the door. He was clearly nervous and angry. "Jessica, what have you done? Why are you airing our private life online?" "Our private life?" "Brandon, you abandoned me. There is no our life anymore. You're making me look like a monster in front of the whole country." "I'm not making you look like anything. I'm just telling the truth." "Samantha, you're behind this," Brandon said, turning to the businesswoman. "I'm helping a woman who was abandoned at the most vulnerable moment of her life. Got a problem with that? You have no idea what you're doing. This will hurt the kids in the future." "You know what will hurt the kids in the future?" Jessica said, struggling to get out of bed. Growing up thinking it was their fault their father left. Growing up without child support because their father chose to run from his responsibilities. Brandon was clearly uncomfortable with the cameras Rachel had brought. "Turn those cameras off now." "Why?" Rachel asked. "Afraid people will see who you really are." "You're making up lies." "Lies?" Jessica grabbed the divorce papers still on the table. "Are these documents lies? Didn't you hand these to me the day our children were born?" Brandon tried to grab the papers, but Jessica kept them out of reach. "Jessica, I can explain." "Explain what? That you consulted a lawyer while I was pregnant? That you planned to abandon me for 9 months? That you emptied our joint account? How did you know about the account? So it's true, you really did that?" Brandon realized he'd given himself away, and his expression changed completely. "Jessica, you have to understand, 4 kids. It would have ruined us financially." "Our finances? What about their lives?" Jessica pointed to the babies. "They didn't ask to be born, Brandon. You and I made them." Just then, Brandon's phone rang. He answered, without realizing the cameras were still rolling. "Hey, babe? No, I'm not home. I'm sorting things out with Jessica." "Of course I love you, sweetheart. Soon this'll all be over, and we can get married in peace." "What do you mean at the maternity ward?" "No, you don't need to worry about that." Jessica felt her world crumble all over again. Brandon was on the phone with another woman, calling her love and talking about marriage. "Brandon," she said with a chilling calm. "Who is this person?" Brandon realized what he had done and quickly hung up. "Jessica, it's not what you think." "Oh, really? Then tell me what I'm thinking." "I can explain everything." "Then explain. Right here in front of the cameras. Tell the whole United States who this person is that you love and want to marry." Brandon looked at the cameras and knew he was trapped. "Jessica, let's talk in private." "No. Whatever you have to say to me, you can say it here. I have nothing left to hide." Brandon tried to leave the room, but Rachel subtly blocked the door. "Excuse me, I need to go." "Of course you can leave," said Jessica. "But first, answer me one thing. How long have you been with this other woman?" Brandon took a deep breath, knowing there was no way out. 6 months. 6 months, Jessica repeated, as if trying to process the information. "You started cheating on me when I was 3 months pregnant." "Jessica, when I was sick every morning, when I was terrified of losing the babies, when I begged you to come to my doctor's appointments, you were with someone else. It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like, Brandon? Explain it to me." The silence in the room was deafening. The babies slept peacefully, unaware of the drama unfolding around them. "I fell in love," Brandon finally said. "You fell in love? And what about your children? Didn't you fall in love with them when you saw the first ultrasound? When you heard their little hearts beating? When they started kicking inside me?" "It's complicated, Jessica." "No, Brandon, it's not complicated. You're a coward who abandoned your family for a fling." Brandon finally exploded. "You really want the truth? The truth is, I never wanted these kids. When we found out there were 4, I panicked. I wanted you to reduce the pregnancy, but you refused. You chose them over our marriage." "I chose my children over our marriage." "Brandon, they're our children. Your duty as a father was to support me, not abandon me." "I wasn't ready to be a father to 4 kids. And you think I was ready to be a mother to 4 kids alone? Do you think this is easy for me?" Brandon tried to leave the room again, but this time he bumped into Mrs. Fitzgerald, who had just arrived. "Son, did you tell her about Ashley?" "Mom, not now." "Ashley," Jessica repeated. "So she has a name." Mrs. Fitzgerald realized she had said too much, but it was too late. "Sweetheart, you need to understand. Ashley is a young woman with no children. She can give my son the life he deserves." "The life he deserves? And what about the life your grandchildren deserve? Doesn't that matter?" "Those boys will be better off with me. I have the means to raise them properly." "You? You're 70 years old." "But I have money, a big house, and experience with children." Jessica finally understood the whole plan. Brandon didn't just want to get rid of her. He wanted to take the children too, leaving them with his mother, so he could live freely with his new girlfriend. "Now I get it," Jessica said with a clarity that surprised even her. "You want me to sign the divorce papers, lose custody of my children, and disappear. Brandon gets to live with Ashley, and you get to keep my kids." "It would be best for everyone," said Mrs. Fitzgerald. "Best for everyone except me and the children." "Jessica, be reasonable," said Brandon. "You can't raise 4 kids alone. My mother has a big house. She can hire nannies. She can give them a good education." "And what about me? What happens to me in this story?" "You're young. You can start over. You can find someone who truly loves you." Jessica looked at Brandon as if seeing him for the first time. How had she fallen for such a cold, selfish man? "You know what, Brandon? You're right about one thing. I'm going to restart my life, but not without my children, and not the way you two have planned." "Jessica, be realistic." "I am being realistic, and the reality is you're both horrible people and my kids deserve better." Mrs. Fitzgerald stepped closer to the crib where the babies lay. "Look at these little angels. They shouldn't suffer because of their mother's pride." "Take your hands off my children," Jessica said, her voice startling everyone with its firmness. "What?" "I said, take your hands off my children. You have no right to touch them. I'm their grandmother." "You're the grandmother of 4 children your own son abandoned. What kind of grandmother supports that?" Mrs. Fitzgerald tried to pick up Emma, but Jessica stood from the bed, blocking her. "If you lay a finger on them, I'm calling security. You can't keep me from seeing my grandchildren." "Yes, I can. And I'll do more than that." Jessica turned to the cameras. "I want everyone watching to see these 2 clearly. This man abandoned me the day our children were born. This woman wants to take my kids from me. They think money matters more than a mother's love." Brandon tried to cover the camera lens. "Turn that off now. You have no right to film my family." "Your family?" Jessica shouted. "Since when are they your family? You said yourself you didn't want them." In a fit of anger, Brandon grabbed for the camera in Dr. Rachel's hands. Chaos erupted, and Brenda appeared at the door with 2 security guards. "What's going on here?" "They're trying to destroy the equipment," Dr. Rachel said. "Sir, I need to ask you to leave," one guard told Brandon. "They're filming without permission." "The permission is mine," Jessica said, "and I want them out of my room." "Jessica, you'll regret this," Mrs. Fitzgerald snapped as she was escorted out. "I've regretted many things in my life, but I won't regret protecting my children." Once Brandon and Mrs. Fitzgerald were gone, Jessica collapsed into tears, the adrenaline fading into exhaustion. "You were amazing," Samantha said, hugging her. "I don't feel amazing. I feel broken. Jessica, you just stood up to two people who wanted to humiliate you and take your kids. That took incredible courage." "Samantha, I don't know if I can do this alone." "You're not alone. After today, thousands of people will stand with you." Dr. Rachel showed Jessica her phone. The video of the confrontation was already going viral, flooded with supportive comments. "This woman is strength personified. Her ex is a coward. I've been there, it's so hard. Let's help this warrior mum." Dear listener, if you're enjoying this story, please like and subscribe. It means the world to us as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. In the days that followed, Jessica's story went national. Major TV networks sought interviews, newspapers ran pieces on paternal abandonment, and social media buzzed with solidarity. But what changed everything was a call Jessica received one Tuesday afternoon. "Hello, Jessica. My name is Ashley. I'm Brandon's girlfriend." Jessica's heart raced. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you, in person, if possible." "Why?" "Because there are things you need to know about Brandon, things that will help you in the court case." Jessica hesitated. It could be a trap. "Why would you do this?" "Because after seeing the videos, I realized what kind of man he really is. And I regret everything." An hour later, Ashley arrived at the hospital. She was a woman around 25, blonde, well-dressed, but with a guilty expression on her face. "Jessica, I want to apologize for everything. Did you know he was married when you two got involved?" "I did, but he said the marriage was over, that you were only together because of the pregnancy. And you believed him?" "I wanted to. I was in love, or thought I was." Ashley sat down and took a deep breath. "Jessica, Brandon lied to me about so many things. He said you had both agreed to separate, that you were okay with the divorce." "He said that?" "He did. And more. He said you didn't want the babies, that it had been an accident." Jessica shook her head in disbelief. "Ashley, I tried to get pregnant for 2 years. I went through fertility treatments. Those babies were the greatest gift of my life. I figured he was lying when I saw the videos. The way you look at them, how you care for them, that kind of love can't be faked." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I'm pregnant." Jessica felt like she'd been struck by lightning. "You're pregnant with Brandon's child?" "I am, 3 months along. And after seeing how he treated you and the babies, I'm scared he'll do the same to me." Jessica looked at Ashley's still small belly and felt a mix of anger and pity. "Does he know?" "He does. And you know what his reaction was? He said this time we'd do it right. That one child is easier to raise than 4. One child. Jessica, I recorded a conversation we had yesterday. Can I show you?" Ashley took out her phone and played an audio clip. It was Brandon's voice, clear and unmistakable. "Ashley, you need to understand. Jessica was stubborn. She insisted on keeping all 4 kids even though we couldn't afford it. Now she can deal with it. Our baby will have a different life because we're smarter. But Brandon, what if she gets custody? What if she gets a big alimony payment? She won't. My mother has the best lawyers in New York. We'll prove she's unstable, that she can't raise 4 kids. In the end, my mother will get custody, and I'll be free of any responsibility. And the boys, don't you feel anything for them? Ashley, I pretend they don't exist. It's the only way to move on. Our son will be different. He'll have all my attention and all my love." Jessica listened with tears streaming down her face. Brandon hadn't just abandoned her. He was planning to act like his children didn't exist. "Ashley, can I use this recording?" "You can. And there's more. He told me he drained your joint account to invest in an apartment for us. The money's still in an account under his name only. Can you prove that? I can. I went to the bank with him. I can testify that he transferred the money on purpose. Jessica held Ashley's hands. Why are you doing this? You're risking your relationship to help me. Jessica, what relationship? With a man who abandons his own children, who lies to everyone, who would take money meant for 4 newborns just to buy his mistress an apartment? What about your baby? I'll raise them alone. If I can do it, you can do it with your 4. In that moment, something shifted inside Jessica. It wasn't just about her and her children anymore. It was about all the women who'd been through something like this. Ashley, do you want to be part of the documentary? What do you mean? Tell your side of the story. Showing how men like Brandon deceive multiple women at the same time. Do you think it would be important? I think it would be essential. How many Ashleys are out there being fooled by married men? How many Jessica Millers are being abandoned with young children? Ashley thought for a few minutes. I'm in, but on one condition. What? When my baby is born, I want you to teach me how to be a strong mother like you. Jessica smiled for the first time in days. Deal. Ashley's participation in the documentary was a turning point. Seeing the 2 women together, supporting each other after being deceived by the same man, touched millions of people. The video where they talked about single motherhood, sharing fears and hopes, went viral in a matter of hours. Comments from women all over the world started pouring in, each sharing their own story. Samantha realized this had become something much bigger than just a documentary. Jessica, we need to formalize this. Create an organization, an official movement. What kind of organization? A platform that connects mothers in vulnerable situations with support networks, psychologists, lawyers, other mothers who've been through this. Do you think it would work? I'm sure of it. Look at how many women are offering help in the video comments. Rachel, who had become the main person in charge of filming, had an idea. What if we did live streams? Jessica could talk directly to other mothers, answer questions, give advice. Liv, I don't know if I'm ready for that. Jessica, you're already doing it naturally. Every time you speak to the cameras, you're talking to thousands of mothers who relate to you. The first live stream was scheduled for a Thursday evening. Jessica was nervous but determined. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jessica, mother of quadruplets Ethan, Mason, Emma, and Olivia. For those just joining, a week ago, my husband abandoned me here at Mercy General Hospital the day they were born. Within minutes, over 10,000 people were watching. Questions started appearing in the chat. Jessica, how do you find the strength to care for 4 babies alone? Look, I'll be honest with you. There are moments when I have no strength at all. Moments when I cry right along with them. But when I look at these 4 innocent faces, I remember they need me, and that gives me a strength I didn't even know I had. Are you afraid of the future? Very afraid. I don't know how I'll work, how I'll pay the bills, how I'll educate 4 children at the same time. But you know what I've learned. Fear is normal. What you can't do is let fear paralyze you. Do you regret not having an embryo reduction? Never. Look at them. How could I choose which one shouldn't be born? They're 4 unique people, each with their own personality, even as tiny babies. During the stream, one message stood out to everyone. Jessica, my name is Carmen. I'm 68. My husband left me 40 years ago when my daughter was 2. I raised her alone, working as a housekeeper. Today she's a doctor, and I have 3 beautiful grandchildren. You'll make it, dear. Jessica began to cry. Carmen, thank you. You have no idea how these stories give me strength. Other similar messages started appearing. Women of all ages sharing how they'd overcome abandonment, betrayal, financial struggles. By the end of the stream, something extraordinary happened. A businesswoman from Washington, D.C. offered Jessica a furnished apartment to live in with the babies for the first year. A pharmacy chain committed to providing medicine and diapers. A group of volunteer psychologists offered free emotional support. But the offer that moved Jessica the most came from a simple comment. Jessica, I'm retired, live in New York City, and have no children. Can I come help you with the babies for a few hours each day? It was Mrs. Gladys, a 72-year-old woman who had lost her only daughter in an accident and found in Jessica a way to channel her maternal love. The following Friday, Mrs. Gladys showed up at the hospital carrying a suitcase of clothes and a warm smile. "Where are my borrowed grandchildren?" she said, speaking directly to the babies. The connection was instant. Mrs. Gladys had experience with babies, endless patience, and genuine affection for children. "Jessica, darling, you're going to leave here and come live with me. I have a big house, too empty for an old woman alone. The 5 of you will bring that house to life. Mrs. Gladys, I can't accept this. You don't even know me." "I do know you. I've watched all your videos, followed your broadcasts. You're a woman of character, a devoted mother, and these children need a stable home. But no buts. It's decided. My house has 4 bedrooms, a big garden, and it's near an excellent school for when they grow up." Samantha watched the interaction between Jessica and Mrs. Gladys and realized this was exactly what Jessica needed. "Jessica, accept it. Mrs. Gladys is an angel who's appeared in your life." "Angel, my foot," Mrs. Gladys laughed. "I'm just a lonely old woman who got a family as a gift." The move to Mrs. Gladys's house happened on a Monday. The press followed everything, and the images of Jessica arriving at the new home with the 4 babies in her arms moved the nation. The house was truly perfect, spacious, airy, with a garden where Mrs. Gladys had set up a playground for when the boys grow a little bigger. "Mrs. Gladys, you did all this in a week. Darling, when you want to do something good, you find a way to do it quickly." The first days in the new house were about adjustment. Mrs. Gladys helped with the babies during the day, allowing Jessica to rest for a few hours. At night, the 2 took turns caring for them. "Jessica, can I tell you something?" Mrs. Gladys said during one of those late nights while feeding Ethan and Emma. "Of course. When my daughter passed away 5 years ago, I thought my life was over. Nothing had meaning anymore. Watching your story gave me hope again." "How so?" "You reminded me I can still be useful, that I still have love to give. These babies gave me back the will to live." Jessica held the older woman's hand. "Mrs. Gladys, they saved you just as much as you saved us." Meanwhile, the legal battle was intensifying. Brandon had hired expensive lawyers and was determined to gain custody of the children, but he hadn't counted on the recording Ashley had made. When the audio was presented to the judge, showing Brandon admitting he wanted to pretend his children didn't exist, his credibility was completely destroyed. Additionally, the discovery that he had diverted money from their joint account to buy an apartment for his pregnant girlfriend weighed heavily against him. During the hearing, Brandon tried to explain, "Your Honor, I was only trying to protect my assets to secure the children's future." "By protecting them with an apartment for your pregnant girlfriend?" the judge asked, visibly irritated. "It wasn't like that. Mr. Brandon, are you aware that abandoning minor children is a crime?" Brandon paled. "Your Honor, I didn't abandon them. I offered my mother the chance to care for them. You offered your mother because you intended to absolve yourself of all responsibility." That's clear from the defense's recording. Brandon's lawyer tried to argue that the recording had been made without consent, but the judge was firm. The recording was made by the defendant's own girlfriend, who felt deceived. It's legitimate evidence. By the end of the hearing, Brandon completely lost his custody request. Not only that, the judge ordered substantial child support and even demanded he return the money he had taken from the joint account. When Jessica found out the result, she was at home bathing the babies with Mrs. Gladys's help. "We won, Jessica," Samantha shouted over the phone. "Won what?" "Everything. Brandon lost the custody request. He'll pay child support for all 4 children, and he has to return the money he stole." Jessica sat on the bathroom floor and began to cry, not from sadness, but from relief. Finally, her children were legally protected. "Mrs. Gladys, we won." "Of course you did, dear. Justice delayed is not justice denied." That night, Jessica went live to share the outcome of the case. "Everyone, I want to share a victory that isn't just mine. It belongs to all the mothers fighting for their children's dignity." The comments exploded with congratulations and support. But I want to talk about something even more important than the legal win. I want to talk about the support network you all built around my family. Jessica showed the house she was living in, introduced Mrs. Gladys, talked about the donations she had received, and the volunteers who helped with the babies. This didn't happen by chance. It happened because so many people decided they could make a difference in one family's life. And if each of you does this for a family you know, imagine the change we can create. That's when Samantha had the idea that would change everything. Jessica, what if we officially created a platform to connect mothers in vulnerable situations with people willing to help? How so? An app, a website, where mothers who need help can register and people who want to help can too. Psychologists, babysitters, people who can offer jobs, other experienced mothers. Do you think it would work? Look what happened spontaneously with you. Now imagine if we organize this systematically. The idea evolved quickly. Samantha used her business connections to develop a digital platform. Rachel took charge of communication and marketing. Ashley, who had graduated in psychology, offered mental health support. What should we call it? Rachel asked. How about Mothers Connect? Jessica suggested. Perfect, said Samantha. The platform took 6 months to develop. During that time, Jessica's story continued to resonate. She became a sought-after speaker, talking about single motherhood, community support, and resilience. The quadruplets grew healthy and happy. Ethan was the calmest, always smiling. Mason was the most active, already trying to roll over in bed. Emma was the smartest, always aware of everything around her. Olivia was the most affectionate, loving cuddles and attention. Look how different they are, Mrs. Gladys would say, watching the babies play on the living room rug. 4 unique personalities. How could anyone think of choosing only some to be born? Jessica smiled as she watched her children. Every day was a new discovery, a different smile, a small milestone. The official launch of Mothers Connect happened when the quadruplets turned 1. The event was held in the party hall of the building where Jessica had grown up, in the Upper East Side of New York. Hundreds of women who had been helped by the support network created around Jessica's story attended. Each carried a sign with an inspiring message: from suffering comes strength. A single mother, but never alone. Together we are stronger. Samantha stepped onto the stage to explain how the platform worked. Mothers Connect links mothers in need with people willing to offer support. It could be psychological help, volunteer babysitters, clothing and diaper donations, job opportunities, or simply someone to talk to. Dr. Rachel shared the numbers from the first few months. We already have over 5,000 registered mothers and 10,000 volunteers. We've helped 300 families find housing, 500 mothers secure jobs through the platform, and more than 1,000 women receive free psychological support. When it was Jessica's turn to speak, she walked onto the stage holding Olivia in her arms, while Mrs. Gladys held the other 3 babies in the front row. A year ago, I was alone in a hospital room, with no money, no prospects, abandoned by the man I loved. If someone had told me then that today I'd be here, speaking to hundreds of women about a platform that has already helped thousands of families, I wouldn't have believed it. The audience applauded, moved. But what I've learned this year is that our greatest strength doesn't come from within us. It comes from the network of people who choose to support us. Mrs. Gladys offered me a home. Samantha gave me a job opportunity. Dr. Rachel documented our story. Ashley had the courage to tell the truth. Jessica looked at her children and continued. Ethan, Mason, Emma, and Olivia never knew abandonment because hundreds of people decided they deserved a chance. They grew up surrounded by love, not just from their mother, but from an entire community. The most emotional moment of the event came when Ashley stepped onto the stage holding her baby, a girl named Hope. When I met Jessica, I was lost, deceived, repeating the same mistakes that had already destroyed one family. But she taught me that strong women lift each other up, not tear each other down. The two embraced on stage, holding their children, symbolizing the transformation they had both experienced. Today, Hope and the quadruplets are practically siblings, said Ashley, and Jessica is the sister I never had. At the end of the event, an unexpected surprise. Brandon appeared. He looked different, thinner, with genuine remorse on his face. Jessica tensed when she saw him but didn't make a scene. "Jessica, can I talk to you for a few minutes?" "Right here in front of everyone," she said, unwilling to give him room for more manipulation. "I came to ask for forgiveness." "From you and from them," Brandon said, looking at the babies. "A year later, Brandon. A year after your children spent the first months of their lives without a father. I know I have no excuse. I know I was cowardly, selfish, cruel, but watching the videos, seeing how you turned all this into something positive, I realized I missed the chance to be part of something extraordinary." "You did, and you know why? Because when I needed you, when our children needed you, you ran away. Now that everything's worked out, you show up wanting to share in the victory." Brandon lowered his head. "You're right. I don't deserve forgiveness. But can I at least have a chance to know my children?" Jessica looked at the quadruplets, who were curiously watching this unfamiliar man. "Brandon, they'll grow up knowing who their father is. They'll know the whole story, no lies. And when they're older, they'll decide for themselves if they want any relationship with you. And in the meantime, you pay child support on time, and maybe, just maybe, I'll allow supervised visits. Not for you, but for them. Every child has the right to know their parents, even the ones who failed." Brandon nodded. "Jessica, I want you to know I left Ashley. I realized I was repeating the same mistakes. Brandon, Ashley is an incredible woman who had the courage to do the right thing when she realized she was being deceived. You lost 2 families because you chose to be selfish. I know, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make amends." After Brandon left, Mrs. Gladys approached Jessica. "You did the right thing, dear. Forgiving doesn't mean forgetting or trusting again. It means not letting bitterness poison your heart." In the following months, the Mothers Connect platform grew exponentially. Jessica became the national spokesperson for single mothers, traveling across the country for speeches and events. Mrs. Gladys officially took on the role of grandmother to the quadruplets, and the house became a home full of life and joy. Brandon kept his word, paying child support on time and accepting only supervised visits. Little by little, he built a respectful relationship with his children, understanding he had lost the right to be a central father figure. Ashley and Jessica became partners in the platform, combining their personal experiences with professional expertise. Hope and the quadruplets grew up together, like an extended family built on mutual support. A year and a half after the platform's launch, Jessica received a special invitation to speak at the UN about community support for vulnerable families. "Mrs. Gladys, they want me to go to New York." "Of course they do, dear. Your story has inspired millions. But the babies are still too little to travel. Then I'll go with you. Those boys need to see the world their mother is helping to change." The trip to New York was symbolic. Jessica, who a year and a half earlier couldn't even afford an apartment, now represented the United States at an international conference. During her speech at the UN, Jessica shared her full story, from being abandoned at the hospital to creating a platform that had already helped thousands of families. "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not here as a victim who overcame adversity. I'm here as proof that when communities come together to support vulnerable families, miracles happen." The audience was moved when she showed a video of the quadruplets playing in Mrs. Gladys's garden. Ethan, Mason, Emma, and Olivia are now 2 years old. They don't know poverty, abandonment, or loneliness, not because they were born with a silver spoon, but because they were born into a community that decided every child deserves love and opportunity. After the speech, representatives from 15 countries asked for information on how to replicate the Mothers Connect model in their regions. Back in the US, Jessica was met with a surprise, an offer to turn her story into a movie. "Jessica, an international production company wants to buy the rights to your story," said Samantha. "To make a movie? To make a film about how an abandoned mother turned her pain into a global support platform. Would the quadruplets be involved? If you want, but the focus would be on your personal journey and the platform's social impact." Jessica considered the offer. A movie could spread her message even further. "Samantha, I accept, on one condition." "What?" All profits go toward expanding the platform internationally. I won't make money from telling my story of suffering. Jessica, you deserve to be compensated. I've already been rewarded. I have 4 healthy children, a loving home, a chosen family, and a purpose that fulfills me. I don't need anything else. Filming began 2 years later. Jessica served as a consultant, ensuring the story was told with honesty and sensitivity. One of the most emotional scenes recreated the moment Brandon handed her the divorce papers at the hospital. Jessica cried while watching that portrayal of the worst moment of her life. "It's strange to see our pain acted out by actors," commented Ashley, who also participated in the film. "But it's important," Jessica replied. "How many women will relate to this scene? How many will realize they're not alone?" The film was released 3 years after the Quadruplets were born and became a worldwide success. But more important than the commercial success was the social impact. The Mothers Connect platform expanded to 20 countries. On the day of the US premiere, Jessica arrived at the theater with the Quadruplets, now 3 years old, dressed in matching outfits but in different colors, the same sequence as their hospital blankets. "Mommy, why are there so many people?" asked Emma, the most observant. "Because they want to know our story, sweetheart." "What story?" "The story of how you 4 changed the world just by existing." During the screening, Jessica was moved to tears several times. Seeing her journey portrayed on screen made her realize how much she had changed. In the film's final scene, as the credits rolled, real footage of the Quadruplets playing in Mrs. Gladys's garden appeared, interspersed with testimonials from women who had been helped by the platform. When the lights came on, the entire theater rose to their feet in applause. Jessica took the stage with her children in her arms. "When I began this journey, I just wanted to protect my children. I never imagined our story could inspire a global movement to support vulnerable families." The audience kept applauding. "But today, I want to talk about what really matters. It's not about me or overcoming hardships. It's about proving that when ordinary people decide to do extraordinary things to help others, the world changes." Jessica looked at Mrs. Gladys, who sat in the front row with tears in her eyes. "Mrs. Gladys taught me that family isn't just about blood. It's about who chooses to stand by you when all seems lost." She turned to Samantha. "Samantha taught me that opportunities arise from crises and that purpose-driven business can change millions of lives." She looked at Dr. Rachel. "Dr. Rachel taught me that sharing our story can be healing, not just for us, but for those who hear it." Finally, she turned to Ashley. "And Ashley taught me that strong women lift each other up, even when they start as rivals." The Quadruplets, now restless on stage, began playing with each other, drawing laughter from the audience. "Ethan, Mason, Emma, and Olivia," Jessica said, looking at them with endless love. "You taught me that love multiplies by 4, it doesn't divide by 4. That hard work is worth it when it's for the people we love. And that family is about who we choose to love, not just who chose us first." The end. Now tell me, what did you think of this story? Do you think Jessica made the right choices? Have you ever been through a similar situation or know someone who has? Leave your honest thoughts in the comments. I love reading your experiences. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.